things are going to get weird.
Things are complicated.
Yeah.
Right, let's start this off. How much anime have you ever watched, ever?
I watched some Pokemon and some
Yep.
Digimon and some Yu-Gi-Oh when I was a kid, because those were the ones that were on Cartoon Network.
Oh, yeah, forget that you had money when you were a kid.
Well, I mean, I
wait
did.
until they're on CITV.
Yeah. Well, I think, Pokemon did come to...
Yeah, it was CITV, I think.
Yeah. I don't think it was actually on Cartoon Network. I think it was Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh that I watched there.
Have you watched anything like since you were a kid, like in your adult life? Have you watched anything like from Netflix?
I watched Sword Art Online,
I watched Sword Art Online.
but I remember very
Can't
little of
remember
it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't remember. It was when I was working in a pub, so I used to wake up at like 11. No, I used to wake up at like 9 or 10, and then watch a couple of episodes, and then go and start working in the pub. I remember there being quite a lot of it though, and it jumped around a bit. It was fun.
Yeah,
that's
I remember
pretty much.
being quite complicated, and then Ready Player One came out, and I was like, okay, same sort of thing, but cool. Thanks.
I think. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all I've really watched. I watched a bit of Attack on Titan. I found myself not really getting on with that. I can never tell if I like anime or not. Do you think you like anime?
The thing, I think it's generally good. I just don't know where to start. Like, episode 1 normally feels like a pretty safe place to start.
However, as we've just discovered, navigating the wikis, there's a lot of other things that happened before episode 1, apparently.
Yeah, and I think if I was ever just like browsing to find one to watch, I probably wouldn't start the one with 1,000 episodes.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? How can it be like? Well, I think it's a completely different approach to storytelling. It must be to go on for that long. So how do you then just get into a point where it's like, oh, I'm in this massive chunk of story. If you're not getting on with that chunk of story, you've still got to work through 50 episodes of it or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same sort of thing where, I've spoken to people who like Star Trek, and I'm just like, no, not for me.
Yeah. No.
And the question is always like, oh, how much of it have you watched? I'm like, well, I watched the first episode, it was wank. And then it's, oh, but it gets good in season 2. I'm like, great.
Okay, so you want me to sit through how many hours of rubbish series 1 to get to series 2? I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I think that might be. I'm never sure if it's. I think that if you get into it at the right, not when it's coming out, but if you're at a point that you will happily suffer through, like the bad stuff, maybe when there's not such a wealth of, because like putting together like the lists year after year for the podcast, there is no shortage of stuff to watch, and limited series are a thing, and we like
concise storytelling.
Yeah, so it's not like I need to find one thing that will last me forever. I just need to find a nice little story to learn or listen to, watch.
Yeah.
But I think what's not quite, but the difference between the anime version and the live action of this. Have we mentioned that we're talking about One Piece yet?
I mean, it's in the title.
Yeah, cool. Right, everyone knows we're talking about One Piece. So, did you watch the live action first?
I did, which I think probably is the wrong way to have gone about it, but that was the one I had access to at the time because I couldn't find One Piece, and then I found Crunchyroll. So
yeah, that's the same order I watched in, and I also feel like I should have watched them the other way around because I sort of I got to the end of the first episode of the anime and went, but the first episode of the TV show has so much more in it.
Yeah. I as I was watching the live action, I was thinking, I wonder how many episodes of the anime this encompasses, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, like it's busy.
Yeah.
And like it's mental. Like, to be fair, both of them are mental.
Yeah.
But did you sort of feel like in the anime that you sort of got to the end of the first episode, like nothing's really happened? Like that's all. It's almost a couple of scenes from the live action show, and then it's done.
Yeah, I think having that knowledge of having seen a bit more because of having watched the live action, yes, I did feel like, oh, you've not really made a lot of progress. But I suppose they're supposed to be bite-sized episodes, aren't they? With an anime, or traditionally or typically they are. I will say this for One Piece though, I really like the story. Like, I think it's a great idea. Like it's this weird mix of like there's modern sort of fashion, but everyone's still fanning around in pirate ships looking for this legendary treasure, right? That's wicked. I was like, yeah, I'm actually quite up for this. I'd found it really quite cool.
Yeah.
But then you throw in the bit where it's like, so there's this kid who's just like, he's a bit happy-go-lucky. He's very optimistic, but he's like, yeah, I'm going to be king of the pirates. I'm going to go and find this legendary thing. And you're like, you don't really look like you got enough to back it up with. And then it turns out he has the same powers as Mr. Fantastic. And he's stretchy and he's well good at fighting. And I was like, yeah, I'm fucking loving this. This is great.
Yeah. And he calls out his finishing moves, and that is baller. Like, the other thing so much really fun.
I really enjoy. So the live, I will say this, I preferred the live action. I really like. I can't remember the character's name, but the dude who like, Luffy sees him fighting in a bar, and he's like, he has 3 swords. Why do he have 3 swords? And then by the end of the episode, you see him fighting with one sword in each hand, and then he just puts a sword in his mouth, and he's like, oh, that's where it goes. I was like, oh, this is fucking brilliant.
That's the thing. I think Luffy is.
He's great.
In both is a brilliant, because he's just brutally honest as well, which I'm just sort of like, it just makes for good humour. Because I think in the anime he's talking to what's his name, Kobe is
his sort of geeky mate.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh, so you're a coward. Kobe's just like, no but it is a lot of fun. But I feel like it's almost blasphemy to be like, I think I prefer the live action. But I think it's just because it's telling what I imagine is, so far feels quite loyal to source, but pacier.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where. So this is what. So I'd love to speak to somebody who was a massive anime fan and just be like, why do you like it? That, well, because obviously not all of them do, but like there are these huge animes that run on, like we say, for thousands of episodes. Like, what do you get out of that? Because when we discuss like The Walking Dead. You know, I mean, you've since carried on with The Walking Dead. I finished watching it around, I think it was series 8. I was like, I've just had enough of this. So, I'd love to know how they keep like ideas fresh. Are there big, you know, do they kill off big characters? Does a main character ever change? Do you follow other stories for a bit? Do they split up? How do they get around that? Because how can the ending of anything like that ever be satisfying when you've got thousands and thousands of episodes to go on?
Maybe that's the point. Maybe it doesn't end.
So the longest running anime, just from a quick Google, there isn't. Oh my god. So there is a program which is called Sazae-san, which has 2,640 episodes.
That's it. I wonder if some of these shows might just get to a point that they can't end.
I suppose that's the point. Just keep it going. But surely if you're watching it and your main character is like, oh, this is going to go on forever. Surely that just means there's never really any jeopardy.
Or maybe it's they get to a point they're like, shit, we don't know how to end it. Let's just keep it moving, keep going. Because you could retire a main character. I don't think there's any. I'm maybe not so sure in this, like if they could just retire Luffy and be like, yeah, he's king of the pirates now. Or maybe they do and they just follow his crew, or follow someone else who's just like, I want to be king of the pirates. But yeah, I don't know how they'd keep it fresh and enticing. But
also, like, oh, hey, so I'm just looking at his character sort of bio. Apparently, there's like some time skips with One Piece. But also, like, did you see the thing the other day? Well, I said the other day. It was a couple of months ago. There was a thing that was like, "Oh, Ash is finally a Pokemon master."
yeah,
It's
no,
like
I didn't remember
it's literally 20 years down the line.
Isn't he still like 14 though?
Yeah, something like that. I'd love to speak to like someone who properly knows, or even just like someone who properly understands just one anime. Because I don't know how you ever get to get to a point where you can watch, like, if you're already watching thousands of episodes of one show, how do you do that with two shows?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe it is actually just a cultural difference where we just don't get it because we're like, I need all of the stuff now. I can't sit and wait for 1,000 episodes. But maybe that's just how it is in Japan, where they will get invested enough in a story to watch 1,000 episodes or something.
Saying that yeah, there is part of me that is like, oh, it would be quite good just to have one anime that goes on for years and years and years that I could like properly get into and have it as like almost like a lifestyle rather than watching it for an entertainment thing, isn't it? Because if you're going through that level of storytelling, I would be quite interested in finding one that could keep my attention for that long. Maybe
I'd also be impressed with something that could keep your attention for that long.
Well, yeah. I mean, it'd have to be like...
I only made it through 8 years of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, exactly. There was one that I started watching a little while ago. I was like, okay, this is a fucking cool idea. It's called Record of Ragnarok. And basically, it's like all the strongest legends and myths from cultures and pantheons of gods all just get together and have basically a big gladiator tournament. So like one episode, I think the first episode is something like Lu Bu from, I think it's Chinese mythology or history, fighting Thor. And Hercules is in it, and yeah, it's that was quite fun. But I was like, yeah, but even then, you're just watching people fighting every week. That can't be fun. It's got to be something with decent characters. So that's why I think One Piece could be that show, to be fair, because it's like every episode is like, oh, they're on the seas and they're going to look for this clue, and then oh, they're now captured and got to escape, or oh, they've run into this guy, and so that something with that sort of scope, I think, could work quite well.
Yeah, I've just found one called Overtake. Oh, it's only 4 episodes.
Is it about F1?
F4, but yeah.
I think I heard ones that like there's stuff about like chefs, like people in restaurants, and I was like, okay, I could get behind that. That could be quite fun.
I'm currently just scrolling through Crunchyroll, and there is so much.
See, I cancelled my my free trial because I was like, I just don't want to have this just as a thing that runs and runs. But now, so what I need to find now is some sort of like questionnaire that I can fill in to find an anime that I'm going to be a super fan of. That's what I'm going to do this year. In my times when I'm, going to be awake and feeding a baby, I'm going to need little bite-sized TV shows. So I might try and find one that I can just keep watching.
What about Dragon Ball?
As I understand it, that is, again, it's like you have an entire series of 2 people having one fight. I was like, I'm not sure I could be bothered with that.
You just said you want something with a lot of episodes.
Yeah, but like not like crazy repetitive. I did watch like a couple of episodes of that One Punch Man. Did you ever watch that? That was quite fun.
No, I'm just looking at Initial D now because that
what?
Initial D, the
I don't know
anime.
what it is.
It's a guy who drives a car drifty style. They made it. There's a live action film of it, and I really enjoyed the film.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that's what we should do then. As a little experiment, let's pick an anime and then see how we get on with it.
Yeah, the trouble there's also a bit of me that does want to pick one of like the big ones, and just see how far I get into it. Before I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
Or like Bleach or something. Actually, One Piece is like one of the longest running animes. I've just looked it up. Like it's in that chart.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll just continue with One Piece.
Yeah, that'd be quite easy, I suppose. The trouble
Should we
is,
make a
that
competition to see which one of us can get the furthest?
No,
and
because
still
you're
understand the story.
You're obviously going to win that one. And here's the thing: like, if I'm going to watch more One Piece, I'm going to watch more of the live action. It's so much fun. I had such a laugh watching it. I really enjoyed it.
That's the thing. I found the anime to be as entertaining, but I think the fact that I wasn't also having to read, like where like sometimes you can just like zone out a little bit, but then hear the joke and it snaps you back in.
Yeah.
You can't get that if you have to concentrate and read all the subtitles. Which is sad. And like, I didn't want to commit the ultimate sacrilege after saying I prefer the live action one of watching it dubbed.
Also dubbed. Well, you can't on Crunchyroll. That's what I found.
No, I think some of them you can.
Oh, okay. It's just that one in particular we couldn't.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd quite like to. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's what we're going to do after this podcast. Is I'm going to spend a bit of time looking at like what animes that I might like, because I'm sure there's some good horror stuff. Like I know that Junji Ito does some very scary shit. Because I've watched a few things that he's written, and they're very creepy.
Yeah, I think it's made me more interested in anime. I think. Maybe not this particular 1,000 episode long marathon. But yeah, I will probably finish the live action one.
Yeah. Yeah, I was majorly impressed, I gotta say. Like,
because it come up on my recommended a couple of times. I'm like, I don't think that's for me, and I was wrong. Which I like. I like being wrong. In the way that like, I like it when a TV show turns out to be not what I expected.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. You know, if this was an episode of It's Always Sunny, it would be the gang gets into anime. Yeah, I think I will carry on with the live action. Certainly, I'm going to carry on watching it. I don't know if I'm going to carry on with the anime. But I do think that the anime could be a good one to watch, like in the background, like when you're doing something else.
Maybe.
Like if you were playing Spider-Man 2 and watching the anime.
Yeah, but hear me out, right? What if to get yourself into anime, you get Baby Duck into anime?
I mean, that's the long game, because obviously they're gonna have to develop.
I don't know, pretty colours.
Saying that, like our friend's little lad, who's not quite 1 year old yet, he is big into The Simpsons, and I think that is because it's huge blocks of single colours all around the place. So that's my equivalent, is The Simpsons. I think thousands of episodes. Well, it's not quite thousands, is it? Simpsons has only gone slightly past 500, isn't it? How many episodes of The Simpsons are there?
Plenty.
Simpsons 753.
Not far off, but like quite a long way off.
Yeah. Season 35 debuted on Fox on October 1st, 2023. That is insane, isn't it?
But that's the thing, are they not also getting to a point that, like,
Oh.
what stories are left to tell?
Yeah, years ago. The thing is like after a while, animated shows just like this. They all they become is reacting to stuff that's happening in recent sort of news.
Yeah, but without
culture
any
and
of the
stuff.
characters ever aging.
That's a real issue for you, isn't it?
Well, no, I quite like. I don't know. It's a weird one. I quite like if a show runs for a long time. That you, especially if it's something you watched when you were a kid, you get to see characters that you remember, like growing up. But I suppose the perk of animated that you don't have to do that. So, you know, it saves someone learning how to draw someone slightly older.
'Cause, actually, you've just reminded me of something that did occur to me. It was like when I saw that there was a One Piece live action. My first thought was kind of like, why are you doing this? Because surely the point of anime or animation in general is it's cheaper to do than actually shooting somewhere. Because you know you've just basically got people drawing and creating images. Surely that's easier. But then having watched the live action, I'm like, oh, I'm so pleased this exists. I really, really loved it.
Yeah. And I also think that possibly to an extent, to tell the same story in anime, it might not be as cheap as we think.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's still, like, while it's just drawing, it's quite good drawing. And to get, like, anything near, like, a smooth animation, it's hundreds and hundreds of frames.
Yeah.
It might be a bit easier now with like computers and software and stuff, but I don't think it would have been.
But yeah, I'm hugely impressed with the live action. I'm quite impressed with the anime, and then let's maybe on the next episode we can reveal what animes we're going to try and carry on watching.
Yeah, no, I'm into that.
Sweet. Okay, well, the
Side
next
quest.
Yes, I do like it when we get a little side feature. Like for a little while, there was like Gilmore Girls updates from me, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next episode you're going to hear from us, we're going to be talking about Severance, which is a show I've heard only good things about, and another show called Made for Love, which I know nothing about. And as we know, those are the best ones, the ones we don't know anything about.
I sort of know nothing about either of them apart from that the finale for Severance was apparently quite good.
Oh, really? Okay. That's what we
all I
like,
actually
shows
know
with
about it.
endings.
Yeah, I do love an ending.
Now let's go and find shows that don't have endings. We'll report back with our findings
Next time.
on Dragon Ball Z.